This video is sponsored by Soundbrenner. Links in the description below. Good morning and welcome to another episode of The Studio. My name is Adam and today we're going to be talking about the best hearing protection for musicians.
I just wanna be with you right now. 너의 기억 속에 남아서 I just wanna be remembered.
Thank you so much to my studio VIPs Robert Utomo, Bradley Crowley, Sanction Han, Scott Rader, Greg Harris, DMP Newberger, Rentro Percussion, Wendy Tran, and Brendan Williams. Thank you so much for joining the studio VIP team. And today's featured studio artist is Matthew Barkus. Thank you so much for joining the studio artist team. If you'd like to become a studio VIP or a studio artist, you can go to patreon.com/AdamTan, or you can click it over here. Welcome back to the show once again. Hope you've been well, hope you've been staying safe. Today's video is about something more hands-on. It's about protecting our ears. But if you're new to my channel, my name is Adam and I make videos about percussion things, all kinds of percussion things, and it's a really fun place to be. So if you haven't already, hit that red subscribe button below to keep up with my uploads as I upload every single week. So a couple of years ago, I made a video about hearing protection, and I think it's really important I make an updated version of that video now because things have changed. I've got different kinds of hearing protection now, and it's still just as important as ever to protect your ears. So I was really excited when one of my favorite companies, Soundbrenner, you might actually know them from their metronome app. This is one of my favorite metronome apps of all time. Time goes by so slowly. You may have also heard of Soundbrenner through their watches, their metronome smartwatches. But today we're actually going to be featuring the Minuendo earplugs. And these earplugs are really, really special. They are designed specifically for musicians, and I will tell you exactly why they're so special later on in the video. Now let's talk about why protecting your ears as a musician is such an important thing. Now as musicians, we listen to music all the time through rehearsals, in concerts. We need to be able to hear stuff, and losing that hearing would basically mean losing your musicianship. At the time of making this video, I've been a percussionist for about 15 years. And in those 15 years, I've been subject to all kinds of loud, crazy sounds, including really sharp, shrill, piercing sounds that just go straight into your ear, as well as really big, bassy, rumbly, boomy sounds that go into your chest and end up shaking your ears. Percussion is basically full of occupational hazards when it comes to hearing loss. For example, you've got drum set, obviously, drums are loud. You've got orchestral instruments like crash cymbals, bass drum, snare drum. All of these instruments have the potential to be really ear piercing. Even things like xylophone. Xylophone has a very bright tone, so it can be really in your face, especially in small practice rooms. I'm sure those of you who have played Porgy and Bess 100 times in a 1 square meter room will know exactly what I'm talking about. And even instruments that aren't technically loud. Sometimes I find if there's a lot of marimba playing in a room, or even just one marimba in the high end, in the low end, it can really get to my ears. Now this also applies to all other instruments too. Piano, for example, if you're playing a grand piano, like a really good grand piano, they can get really, really loud. Brass is literally the only thing that's probably louder than percussion. Even wind and string players, if you play high, shrill notes, this can really go into your ears and develop hearing loss over time. Now in the first half of my 15 years, when I was in high school and then when I was in early university, I didn't really use enough ear protection. I would always wear some really simple earplugs every now and then, but then sometimes I would go into rehearsals and think, oh, it's okay, it's just Sonarchus. And it would be super, super loud, and I would always regret it so much because my ears would be ringing. And that's not to mention all of the times I wasn't playing music. Things like if I was going to like a nightclub or something and the music is super, super loud. Some of those rooms have like 15 subwoofers and it's just like, and I would go in with no hearing protection, and then when I got home, all I could hear was this ringing noise. Just terrible. Now, if you continue to not use ear protection for an extended period of time, you can also get a condition which is called tinnitus, which a lot of my colleagues have from their early days of percussion without wearing earplugs. And basically, tinnitus is that ringing sound, but it goes on forever. Like you can't escape it. You go to sleep, you always hear it. You're at work, you hear it. You'll literally just be so incensed by that sound because it just never goes away. So trust me, you do not want to get to that level, and if you aren't already using hearing protection, please start using it. But here's the thing with hearing protection. There's a lot of situations where yes, you would like to have hearing protection. For example, in a symphony orchestra where you've got 100 musicians, yes, it would be really nice to have some hearing protection, especially if you're in those rehearsals for hours and hours on end. But you also need to be able to hear the details. You also need to be able to hear whether you're playing too loud, too soft, and if you're wearing earplugs, your sense of dynamics will be different to the audience's. So this causes a lot of issues with musicians, and it's also the reason why a lot of musicians just opt to not wear earplugs on stage, and they inevitably get hearing loss. But that's okay, there are ways to have hearing protection while still being able to hear your fellow ensemble members, still being able to project accurate dynamics and be clear with your playing. And so in today's video, we're going to be breaking down 3 different types of hearing protection, starting from the most basic to the most advanced. Well, before I get into the breakdown, if you're enjoying the video so far, please give me a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it so much, and let me know down in the comments below if you have any questions about hearing protection throughout this video. Okay, so the first type of hearing protection is one that most people will be familiar with. It's these. These are foam earplugs or construction earplugs. Some people call them safety earplugs, and they come in a variety of shapes, sizes, and colors, but generally speaking, this bullet shape is the most common. You might find it in a barrel shape sometimes. You might find it in, well, I don't even want to call this shape anything. Yeah, basically a whole bunch of shapes, a whole bunch of bright colors. They're usually readily available, quite cheap. They usually come in big packs of 20 to 100 to several hundred. And you'll probably see these most commonly used in the construction industry. That's why they're so brightly colored. It's basically high vis. You also see this a lot with event stuff, like big events like music festivals and stuff, where it's just constant loud noise. Like security staff like to wear these a lot because you're constantly exposed to this noise. And this does a pretty decent job of filtering it out. Okay, so I'm gonna take off my Minuendo earplugs for a second because we're gonna talk about these later, and check this out. They're magnetized. So usually the commonly accepted method of putting foam earplugs in is you'll pinch the end and you'll put these tips in, the narrow tip in, and you'll feel the foam expanding into your ear. So it's gonna slowly get bigger. It feels like someone's filling your ear with water. And once they have expanded fully, you basically have a pretty decent level of sound protection. Okay, let's break down the pros and cons of these foam style earplugs. So the first pro has obviously got to be the price. They're very, very affordable. You can get them for literally, well, 1 cent if you buy them in a big enough pack. And sometimes you'll even get them for free at certain institutions. My university gives these out all the time. They also do exactly what they say they do. They protect your ears from severely loud noises, and they do it really, really well. They go all the way down to like minus 29 decibels. So basically, if you're in any sort of loud situation, a music festival, construction site, a music festival at a construction site, you'll basically be covered because it sounds something like this. It sounds like you're talking underwater. It's very, very muffled, and life is good. Okay, so let's talk about some of the downsides. Now, the biggest downside, especially for musicians, is that these block out too much sound. So every time I've used these on stage for a professional concert, when I have literally got no option, like I would rather protect my ears and just play the concert, I can't control my dynamics very well because everything I'm playing sounds really quiet. And yeah, all your ensemble skills basically go down the drain. You won't be able to blend with your ensemble members very well. You won't be able to pulse with them as well because everything is just really muffled. The second thing I don't like about these earplugs is that you can't adjust the amount of noise reduction that you're getting. So let's say if I was playing in a gig that was mostly softer sounds, but there's the occasional loud sound here and there, I can't just remove these earplugs slightly and try to get more sound, because if I do that, there's gonna be a leak in my ear and the sound is just gonna go in anyway. So that's why it sucks with these earplugs, because you get 2 extremes, either too quiet or too loud. Third thing I don't like about these earplugs, well, they only come in one size. Yes, you can buy foam earplugs in smaller sizes sometimes, or even larger sizes, but this is a lot rarer. Similarly, this foam material over time is just really scratchy. I mean, yes, you could buy premium foam earplugs, but they're still disposable earplugs, and they just get dirty really easily because you can't clean them. Also, if you're someone who plays on stage, I mean, if you're a musician, you will be playing visibly on stage. This just doesn't look that good appearance-wise. It sticks out way too much. It's bright orange, so it's just really conspicuous, and it just ruins the look of your performance. And the final, most obvious thing I don't like about foam earplugs is that they are disposable. They are single-use disposable earplugs. Yes, you could use them for a week if you wanted to, but ultimately they are disposable, which means you end up with more waste and you just keep throwing these away. And over time, that cost adds up. If you have to keep buying earplugs over and over again, you might as well get something that's reusable. So yeah, overall, this kind of earplug is more for situations where you're exposed to loud, harsh sound over and over again, and you don't have to do anything about that sound. But for musicians, nah, I don't think this is a good choice. That brings me to the second type of earplug, which is these reusable musicians earplugs. Usually these are branded as musician earplugs because they have a more long-lasting design. Usually they've got some sort of flanges, whether it's a single flange, double flange, triple flange. They have a better fit. They're usually made of a more durable material, and ultimately they're reusable, so you can clean them. So this kind of reusable musician's earplug, until I got the Soundbrenner earplugs, these were the earplugs that I was using the most. I used them for about the last 6 to 7 years. And I was also using a branded version of these earplugs called the ear razors. They were about $70 to $80 each, and I lost like 4 pairs of them. So I just stopped buying them. And then I ended up with these Christmas tree looking ones from Amazon. These cost me about $20 to $25, not too expensive. Yeah, they're not bad. They totally eliminate some of the issues that you get with foam earplugs, starting with the fact that, well, they're just way more comfortable. These earplugs definitely fit a lot more comfortably. They just go straight in. I don't need to do that weird squeezing thing that I do with foam earplugs. And they have the triple flange pointed tip, which just goes straight into an ear canal and fits most ear canals. And you do get a degree of different sizes. Some manufacturers make like 3 to 5 sizes. These earplugs have a much better sound profile than the foam earplugs. They don't just make everything go straight down. You do still hear some of the sound, and I think this is not as much attenuation. It's not -29. I think it's closer to -20, so a little bit more hearable. Appearance wise, these earplugs also fit really well because they are invisible. They're clear, so you can't really see them until you go really close to my ear. And this is why I bring these earplugs to other things outside of music too, like nightclubs and all that kind of stuff. So you'd think that these earplugs would be fine for most situations. Well, yes and no. There's still a bunch of limitations that hold me back from sticking to these earplugs. And the first one is that you can't adjust the amount of hearing protection you're getting. So let's say if I'm playing in a piece, as I was saying before, that is really quiet and there's only a couple of loud sections here and there, but I ultimately want to be able to hear all the little details. These earplugs, because they filter somewhere in the middle of -23, 24 decibels, I basically only have off and on. So if I'm playing in different situations, I can't adjust it. I could potentially pull the earplugs out halfway, but as I was saying with the foam earplugs, that creates leaks, and then you end up having sound go into your ears, and it's all terrible. The second thing I don't like about these earplugs is the fit, because they only come in 2 sizes. They can't really fit all ranges of ear canals. So I always find that my left ear, it doesn't sit that well. There's always like a small gap all the time, and my right ear sits almost perfectly, but it's still also just a little bit off. And so sometimes I can get some sound leakage in the left ear no matter how I try to fit this thing. And then if I fit it in too much, I don't hear anything at all. And the final thing I don't like about these earplugs is that although I'm getting some clarity with these earplugs, I'm not getting enough. I would like to hear more of the things around me, and I think it's just the quality of the filter. It's like a very basic filter, so I'm still not hearing the things I want to hear. But yeah, overall, if you have very straightforward ensemble situations, if you don't need to adjust your hearing protection at all, if you just want to have an earplug that can kind of do an okay job at everything, this is a pretty good pick. But yeah, if you're like me and you've tried all of these earplugs for years and you want to try something more professional, more flexible, more versatile, this has got to be the answer. Adjustable lossless earplugs, the Soundbrenner Minuendos. These are just really, whoa. Like, even just putting them into my ears, I feel so much more comfortable with these because they just have a much better fit. As you might have guessed, the biggest thing about these earplugs is that you can adjust the level of hearing protection that you're receiving. It's so cool to be able to adjust the hearing protection based on the situation. For example, if I was in a really loud place and I wanted to have the maximum amount of hearing protection, I just slide these sliders forward towards the front of my head, and it goes down to -25 decibels, which is close to that foam earplug level. But because of the filter in these earplugs, I can still hear details, even at this -25 decibel level. Now, let's say the sound isn't as loud. Let's say it's like a quiet rehearsal with a couple of sharp notes here and there, and I still want to be able to hear more. I can turn the setting right down by pushing these sliders to the back of my head to make it -7 decibels. -7 is basically almost like you're not wearing earplugs. It's just a very slight amount of hearing protection while still dulling the high frequencies. And the thing about these switches from -7 to -25 is that they're stepless switches. It's just one smooth switch. So you can go anywhere in between -7 and -25 as well, giving you greater control over how much hearing protection you're receiving. So yeah, to talk more about the features, I'm just going to show you the box here. This is what the box looks like. I was so excited to receive this. You can see the Minuendo logo on the top. We've got lossless earplugs and we've got a picture of the earplugs. They do look a little bit like in-ear monitors or in-ear earphones, but they're not in-ear earphones. If you look to the side, you'll see all of the features. We've got the stepless adjustment, 7 to 25 decibels. You've got the world's only variable passive hi-fi filter. Yes, I don't think I've actually seen earplugs that have variable filters while still keeping that clarity. It's a really cool thing. Natural flat frequency response, so it still sounds relatively flat. You're not getting any boosts in the highs or the lows like Beats headphones. No electronics or batteries. Now this is a really big one because a few months ago when I wasn't working with Soundbrenner, I was looking at these earplugs and I thought, oh, this would be cool, but imagine having to recharge them all the time. That would be such a hassle. There's no electronics, no batteries, nothing, which means you don't have to charge them at all. You can literally just put them in whenever you want to use them and you don't have to worry about longevity of lithium-ion batteries. It just works. Patented acoustic membrane, yes, just like a speaker, it has a very cool acoustic membrane which is giving you that quality of sound and unmatched comfort. Now the reason why you have unmatched comfort with these earplugs is because if you look on the back of the box, it comes with 11 sets of ear tips. Have a look at this. This is all the ear tips that you get. This is more than most in-ear earphones on the market. You're getting single flange tips, that's just the one flange one. You get the double flange tips and you also get the triple flange tips. Right now I'm using the single flange tips, but I do also like the triple flange ones. It just depends on how much passive noise reduction that you want and what your ear shape is like. But yeah, having this many tips is pretty much the closest thing you can get to a custom fit. Okay, now you can see in this graph you've got attenuation and frequency. So the higher the frequency is, the more attenuation you're getting, which means the more noise reduction you're getting, which is really nice because in the high end, that's where you're getting all your piercing sounds that tend to cause hearing loss. Things like crash cymbals, you know, like triangles. And yeah, when you open the box, in addition to the actual earplugs themselves, you get this nice little carrying case, which means it's a bit harder to lose these earplugs. And you also get a nice little strap, a neck strap, which is something that you see on a lot of those drummers earplugs. Really nice. Now these aren't as bright as the foam earplugs and they don't really stick out of your ear. So if I'm looking at you straight on, you can see they don't really come out at all, which is really great. It means that you can use these on stage. Yes, they're a little bit more visible than clear earplugs. So Soundbrenner, if you want to make clear ones, that would be awesome. But yeah, otherwise the low-key black look is very professional. You can get these earplugs from anywhere in the world. You don't have to go to a specific store. You can just go to soundbrenner.com and use my discount code ADAMSB for 20% off. That's a huge discount. It means you can get these earplugs for under 200 Australian dollars or around 130 US dollars. So if you want to get them right now, use the link in the description below or the link in the pinned comment down below and use my code ADAMSB. I've been using these for the last 2 weeks in various situations, chamber ensemble rehearsal, solo Merlin playing. I've also used it in like a 50 people drum circle and it's just nice to be able to talk normally while having my ears protected. But that brings me to one of the potential downsides of these earplugs, which is the cost. Okay, obviously these earplugs here cost me about $20. These ones cost closer to around 200 Australian dollars, which yeah, it's a pretty big price jump and it may seem expensive when you first think about it. But here's the thing, as a professional musician, I demand to have professional levels of hearing protection. And if I'm using these musicians' earplugs, my quality of playing suffers because I can't adjust the hearing ability. Now, if you don't need that adjustment, maybe you'd be able to get away with cheaper earplugs, but I think for most of us who are planning to enter the professional music industry or are already in it, we do need that adjustability. We do need those nice filters to be able to hear the clarity. So I think for those kinds of features, it's pretty worth it. In addition, a lot of my musician friends buy those custom earplugs, you know, when you go to like a hearing center and they make those earplugs for you, those cost between $300 to $400 and those things are not adjustable either. You just end up with one flat setting throughout. So I think this is like a really good middle ground between custom earplugs and normal earplugs, both in terms of versatility, in terms of fit, and just in terms of overall use. But yes, these earplugs have been so good that I've been using them not just for music, but even for sleeping. Like when it's really noisy, I just turn the filter all the way up to -25 and I can sleep in peace. And I'm sure when travel opens up again, this might even be a good option to take on the plane. And yeah, I'd be happy to take these to any social events like nightclubs or anything like that. Well, not right now because there's like COVID here. But yeah, I'd be happy to take these to like a bar or a nightclub where it's a little bit too loud, just because they actually look really cool. So if you'd like to get the Minuendo earplugs, you can go to soundbrenner.com and use my code ADAMSB when purchasing the Soundbrenner Minuendos, and you'll get 20% off no matter where you are in the world. And of course, you can also use the links in the description and in a pinned comment down below. So yeah, if you enjoyed today's video, please give me a thumbs up and let me know down in the comments below if you have any questions about hearing protection, or if you have any of your own methods of hearing protection that I didn't list in this video. I'd love to hear from you. And yeah, if you'd like to see more content like this, I may also be doing more Soundbrenner content in the future. You can hit that red subscribe button below to keep up my uploads. Thank you so much for watching today's video, and I'll see you next week for another episode of The Studio. Good night.